Let me acknowledge at the outset that there are many benefits to being named U.S. Ambassador. In particular, people from all walks of my life, as well as some I've never even met, have surfaced to say wonderful things about me. While it may not all be true, it sure feels good. One compliment that does resonate with me was offered by the President of India when I presented my credentials. He called me a friend of India. It is a comment that others have made as well, which I consider a great honor. I have reflected on what it means to be a friend of India and why I think it is significant. When I first began working on policy matters involving India as Undersecretary of Commerce, our two countries faced challenging and complicated issues related to the transfer of sensitive U.S. technology with both military and conventional applications, so-called dual-use items. India sought increased access to this technology, while the United States wanted to ensure that any transfers would be made to the designated recipients for the agreed-upon purposes. This required a sophisticated system of export controls, which India candidly did not have at the time. Our initial exchanges on this subject were quite formal and somewhat strained due to the wide gulf in our positions. However, we soon developed a series of reciprocal steps to enable us to gain confidence and move forward. And look how far we have come. Now India is celebrating its membership in 2 of the 4 multilateral export control regimes: the Wassenaar Agreement on dual-use items, which India just joined, and the Missile Technology Control Regime. We also expect in the very near future India to join the Australia Group on chemical and biological weapons. And we are working closely with India and our international partners to secure India's membership in the Nuclear Suppliers Group. At the same time, the United States has gone from a restrictive policy regarding the export of dual-use items to India to a much more liberal one. I think it was the way in which U.S. and Indian officials approached this transformation that led some to call me a friend of India. Let me briefly describe this approach. It began, as it always should, with respect. While U.S. and Indian diplomats certainly pursued their respective national interests, we also listened carefully to each other, sought to understand each other's point of view, and searched for commonalities and mutually beneficial solutions. We also trusted each other. This involved being open and candid. Do what you say and say what you do may be an old cliche, but it is critical to building trust. Of course, we simply disagreed from time to time, but as friends, we still accepted each other because we shared a fundamental set of interests. Acceptance enabled us to work through disagreements and move forward without animosity or rancor, and certainly without jeopardizing our relationship. Another critical attribute of our approach was confidence. Because friends believe in each other's good intentions, we felt confident in occasionally taking risks, even big risks, that ultimately could help us reach our desired destination. And finally, we demonstrated resilience and constancy. We appreciated the big picture and bounced back from disappointments or setbacks that inevitably occurred along the way. We did not allow ourselves to be diminished by lapsing into a tit-for-tat relationship. And of course, it certainly helped to have a good sense of humor. These qualities, respect, trust, acceptance, confidence, and resilience and constancy, were critical to the success we achieved. They are also an intricate part, or an intrinsic part, of our people-to-people relationships, perhaps best exemplified by the large Indian diaspora in the United States that fully engages in American life, yet still maintains close ties to India. Indian entrepreneurs in particular have successfully bridged our two cultures and made a significant mark on the American technology landscape, while also benefiting India. Today, approximately 33% of all immigrant-founded startups in the United States have Indian founders, a number which far exceeds that of any other group. Surely, the human dimension of interactions between Indians and Americans has contributed to this incredible statistic. It is my hope that the same spirit and drive, which is also reflected in the bond between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, will permeate the routine interactions between government officials in our two countries as we seek to fulfill the potential of our strategic partnership. As members of diverse, dynamic, multi-religious, and pluralistic democracies, Indians and Americans share the fundamental values of individual liberty, hard work and enterprise, open societies, human rights, and the rule of law. These values underpin a friendship bolstered by conviction rather than merely by expediency. Based on our values, we have common interests in playing by the rules, enjoying freedom of trade and commerce, and resolving disputes peacefully in accordance with international law. Our shared values and common interests inform our vision for the Indo-Pacific region. This area encompasses the world's largest and fastest growing economies and its most populous nations. Its waters contain many of the vital choke points for global trade. Its geography is rich in natural resources, and it is fast becoming the center of gravity of the evolving international system. As the U.S. national security strategy recognizes, India is a leading power in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. For India and the United States, the Indo-Pacific is vital to the security and prosperity of our people as well as others. Together, we want to ensure a free and open region where the rule of law and democratic principles are reflected in a rules-based order. We want to promote respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, guarantee freedom of navigation, overflight, and commerce, and other lawful uses of the sea, ensure that territorial and maritime disputes are resolved peacefully, consistent with international law, promote economic connectivity through private sector-led growth, free and fair trade, the use of responsible debt financing practices, and the transparent development of infrastructure. And together, we want to preserve regional stability and security, prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and eliminate the scourge of terrorism. The U.S.-India Strategic Partnership is designed to strengthen both countries and to have a beneficial impact on this region. The principles just enumerated are inclusive and we welcome working with any nation that embraces them. Over the past 17 years, the United States and India have made enormous strides together. Some of the landmark steps along the way include the expansion of our defense cooperation and combined military exercises, the work of the High Technology Cooperation Group and the next steps in strategic partnership that Roger referred to, the historic civil nuclear deal, the nearly six-fold increase in U.S.-India trade, the Defense Technology and Trade Initiative, and the designation of India as a major defense partner, and many other initiatives related to commerce, energy, the environment, science, technology, health, and other fields. Significantly, there has been strong, consistent, and sustained support for this partnership from the major parties in each of our countries across multiple changes of government. And yet, despite all of this, we still get asked, is the United States a reliable partner that will remain fully engaged in the region? Or what will be the next signature initiative to propel this relationship forward? While I believe these questions are misplaced, they nonetheless represent anxieties that we must overcome. Only when we stop doubting our mutual commitment to this partnership and stop looking for another initiative to prove its worth will we really know that things are proceeding well. In reviewing the past 17 years, I believe we've laid a strong foundation for a strategic partnership that can have a significant positive impact on the 21st century and beyond. It is now time to build upon this foundation in a flexible but purposive manner. We must move beyond our growing pains and create something that makes sense for both of us in the long term, something that helps create a stable architecture for the region. It is now time to make sure that the strategic partnership is a durable partnership. The long-standing commitment of the United States to a free, secure, and open Indo-Pacific has underpinned the stability and remarkable economic rise of the region to the benefit of all of us. The United States will remain committed to the region as we are to a rules-based international order because our future is inextricably linked to it. We welcome India's leadership with us in this venture. As partners, bolstered by conviction and working with like-minded nations on a regional architecture to ensure that the Indo-Pacific, in the words of Secretary of State Tillerson, is increasingly a place of peace, stability, and growing prosperity, rather than one of disorder, conflict, and predatory economic policy. Let me briefly touch on 5 pillars that can provide the framework for our durable partnership. One key pillar is our cooperation on defense and counterterrorism to enhance the long-term security and stability of the Indo-Pacific region. A related and equally important objective is to continue our support to India as a net provider of regional security, capable of responding successfully to threats to peace, especially in the Indian Ocean and its vicinity. We can advance these objectives in several ways, which we expect to discuss this spring in our new 2+2 ministerial dialogue, and incorporate in a roadmap to drive action on both sides. One way to increase cooperation is through military exercises. India and the United States already conduct a robust series of bilateral exercises. While these have been increasingly realistic single-service scenarios, it is time to consider a multi-service exercise, perhaps focused on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. This modest